Good afternoon, guys. I'm here with you today with another video. Today we're going to be tackling putting in these bench seats into the van. So we're going to have to do some fabrication work, but I think we got a pretty good game plan. So you can see these bench seats came out of, I think, a Chevy like 1500 Express van or something like that. But anyhow, it used this mechanism before for locking the seats in. Now we don't have that option, as our seats are, it doesn't have the recess in the floor. And I looked at trying to pull those recesses out of the floor, but I didn't really like how it wasn't going to suit our van very good. So we're going to make our own brackets. So I'll take you over here. You can see that this is what one of the old brackets looked like. And I've made up a template here for what we're going to use. So we're going to have to drill the holes in this to match this, which I already did for one piece over here. Here, let me zoom out a little bit. There you go. That's better. So we have the one bolt hole here and the two down here. So when we come on over here, we gotta still drill the holes out on this, but you can see we have the one bolt hole here, and we'll have two more up here. And then we have our templates coming down. And then what's going to happen is that this piece of C-channel is going to get welded into the base of the van. So what we did is we drilled a hole through here, like so, and then we welded these nuts on the bottom side. Now this flange was only 1/2 inch thick, so we had to grind down the nuts a little bit, but that's why we put the bolts in, did all that ahead of time. So now, when we get ready to fabricate it and weld it in, we'll be able to attach these to the bench seats. We'll be able to get the bench seats exactly where we want them, and then we'll weld these C-channel in so that it sits right where we want it. Then we can undo these bolts, and that way when we're painting the van, we don't have to worry about the bench seats being in the way, or just in the future, if we ever want to remove the bench seats, they don't have to be permanent. So the next step is we're going to go ahead and get these top pieces all drilled out. Everything I'm using here is 1.5 inches wide, so I think this is 1.5 inches by 3 if I remember correctly. Then this is just 1.5 inches box tubing. This is 1.5 inch flat bar, 1.5 inches by I think 1/2 inch lip C-channel. And I think all in for all the metal to do this, it was going to be under like $70 or something like that. So seemed like the easiest way to handle it. Now the only issue I did have, slight fitment issue I did have, was that we had plenty of room in here for the 1.5 inches. Back here it was just ever so slightly thin. So I started by trying to grind it out, and that wasn't working very good. So then what I did is I put a nut through here with a bolt through this end with another nut right here and another nut down here, and then pushed it out. Anyway, I'll get a video of that later when we get ready to do these other ones, but just for the initial fitment, I did have a little bit of issue, but nothing that prevented. So anyhow, we're going to get these drilled out, and I'll show the fabrication process. Hey guys, just something else I wanted to note real quick is that when you're drilling out these holes, the easiest thing you can do is get a template, set it over the top, and then use these transfer punches to transfer the marks over. So that's what I did to get my first initial holes, is that I can't really do it with one hand, but I held this over this, was able to fit that through the hole, and then whack it. So the way these transfer punches work is that they're the exact outside diameter that you need with a little centerpiece in the middle. You can pick up a whole set of them from Harbor Freight for, I think it is like $15 or $20. And they are a lifesaver when you get ready to do fabrication work like this. So definitely recommend that. Well, sadly, that was actually a pretty big failure. So this one lined up pretty good. And while this bolt hole lines up good, I don't know how well you can see it, probably easier to see it from the underside, we do not have a good lineup at all. So I take back what I said. Thought that was the way to do it. Looks like it is not. So we're going to come up with a new game plan. I'm probably just going to egg these holes out a little bit to make them work for right now, but we'll have to figure out a different strategy for the next ones. All right, so what I ended up doing is I put the 1 bolt hole in, and I had to egg, and then I just drilled right through it to egg these ones out. You can see they definitely needed quite a bit. So I think what I'm going to try and do for the next one is drill this hole out again first, because this one seemed like it lined up pretty good. And then I'll go put that bolt hole through the frame, and then take my center punch and center punch these. Looking at my template, it looks like they weren't perfectly lined up either. This one looks a little bit lower. Oh, I'm sorry. This one looks a little bit lower than this one did, so that's probably what my issue is. So, again, a lot of these issues could just be avoided by having a drill press. So that would be my recommendation if you were going to be doing a lot of this. But I'm already halfway done now, so only 2 more to go. I'll be back at you after we get these all drilled. All right, guys, so we got the rest of those drilled out. I never did come up with a great system for getting these holes perfectly lined up. Ended up having to egg out a little bit of each one. And I have a slight feeling that we might end up egging out each of these even a little bit more once we actually get the feet installed, because if they're not all sitting totally square, that could be an issue. So anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So the next step is I'm making up these brackets. So like I said, this is going to be the C channel that gets welded into the floor, and this is the bracket that will be welded to the rest of the frame, so that we can always take them back out if we need to. So I'm drilling the holes right now. These are 1/2-inch bolts, and you can see how the nut sticks out a little too far. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these drilled out so that they're all like this. And then I'll go ahead and get the nuts welded in, and then I'll grind the whole thing down. One thing that I did up here was that I put the washer in ahead of time while I was grinding it down. I think this time I'm going to go ahead and take that washer out like I did on this one, so that when I grind it down and then when I put the washer back in, it'll just sit it up a little bit more. So just a minor detail, but that way we're not totally bottomed out right there. As you can see, it's totally flush. So leave us a little bit further back. So anywho, just a noteworthy thing. So I'm going to get the rest of these drilled out, and then I'll try and get a video of me actually doing the welding and the grinding, so you can see what that process looks like. All right, guys, so we got this all together, or I should say we have all the pieces ready to be welded together. A better man would actually cut these at a slight taper so that they would match this line right here. But I am not a better man, so I'm just going to fill it with weld. Again, that's certainly not the right way to do it, but I'm feeling particularly lazy this evening. So we got our channel stock here, which could be taken off, but just for the time being, I might as well keep it together. Our piece of flat steel, which is going to be the base of our mount. Our 2 pieces of square stock, and then our piece of box tubing that we cut to length and drilled all the holes for. So right now we're just going to tack everything together. I'm not going to do a solid weld. The long-term goal for these brackets is going to be to obviously weld all the way around and then grind it smooth, and then probably powder coat them just for a nice finish, since they will be visible. But in the meantime, I'm just going to get them tacked together so that we can get them attached to the seats, and then I can set the seats in the van. so that way I can get these brackets welded in. Right now I'm trying to get all the body work done as quick as I can on the van so we can get it ready for sandblasting and paint. But I want every last bit of welding done on the van right now. So, alrighty, let's get to welding. Another thing that I actually just forgot about until just now was that I think long term I want to weld little plates over the end of these as well to try and clean them up. So I got a plate to sit flush on the inside here and over and back here. So that'll be a something that I can also do a little bit later, but at least I'll have these mocked up for now. So I'm gonna get the rest of these welded up and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so now that we've got these all welded up, we're going to go ahead and try and get these installed. Now you'll notice that we have a little bit of a hiccup right away, which is this side fits in nice and smoothly. This side though is a little tight. So one solution would be to try and grind out the inside. I did that before and that didn't work very good. So another solution I came up with was using a bolt, some nuts and bolts, and stretching the hole wider. So if you actually notice inside here, it actually bends inward a little bit, so it does have the space to move and to stretch a little bit. So I'll go ahead and show you how I do that. So I put the bolt through, put the big washer and then a little washer, thread one nut on, once I have that on, I'll throw another nut on. Fingers won't work. And once that's there, I'll throw another small washer and then the big washer. And we'll go ahead and we'll thread this nut or this bolt all the way through till you have extra sticking out down the bottom. This bolt's starting to get a little worn out. This is the fourth one. This is the last one I'm doing. I did the first couple to make sure I had it right and figured out before I showed you all. But now that I've got it tight, and you can see we got two nuts in here with the washers pushing out. Now we're just going to force these two against each other to force the bolt to stretch that bracket. So I've noticed that sometimes you have to do it twice, because these bolts do, or these brackets do kind of want to return back to their original shape. But we'll go as tight as we can. This is a 3/8 bolt, so I'm using 2 9/16 wrench. You could probably fit something a little bit bigger, but you'd have to go metric. So this is good enough. This one's actually bending the easiest yet, so that's good. But you can see I got a pretty good gap in here now. If I take this, you'll see that this corner now fits in a little bit. It still doesn't fit in quite good, so maybe go a little bit more. Go as far as you really can, honestly. But like I said, I'll do this once and then I might have to go back and do it a second time because it'll bend backwards. But that's pretty well, that's about as stretched out as I really want to go anyhow. So we can start to undo this now. guys, there we go. We've got our bench seat brackets made. So it has a little bit of wobble in it, but not too much. And any wobble that it does have, it will be solved by when we get these C channels welded in. Once they're welded in, it's not going to have much of a choice where it sits. So it's dark and rainy out right now, so I reckon we'll, next time we have a halfway decent day, we'll get these installed and we'll go ahead and get them welded in. And then we can get started on the flip down seats. All right, guys, so we have the seats positioned where we want them now. We have a pretty decent amount of leg room in here. We were, obviously we want there to be a comfortable amount of leg room, but we also were trying to not give so much leg room that we lost our trunk space, but you can see we still have a pretty deep trunk. And then from here, we're gonna add the flip down seats. I decided I'm gonna talk about that in a different video, so I'll document that at a later time. But I'm going to go ahead and just get these welded in now. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a very good video of that, so I think we're just going to go ahead and end here. But again, we're going to get this seat channel welded in and marked up, and then from there, we'll be able to remove the bolts right here and be able to pull these whole seats out if we ever need to. Well, we will need to, because we're going to pull these out while we're sandblasting the cabinet or the van and painting, obviously, and then these seats are going to get upholstered. So that's us fabricating seats for this. So I'll do another video, like I said, of what I decide to do with these fold down seats, but we'll get to that in the future. So all right, guys, have a good night. We'll catch you again next time.